Oh. Are we live? Yes, we're alive. What's up, Worldwide with Eve Daddy? Your angry guy. Your angry fucking toy guy. Whatever you wanted to call me this year. Angry old fucker, whatever. Guy who Super 7 shit. We're live, one living color. And we're going to have some fun tonight because it is the season ending finale. Season 2 into Skelecember. Had a fun time this year. Not as packed as I wanted it to be, but it was what it was. So that's it is. We've seen a lot of changes for the Angry Guy Productions as far as locations and different stuff. This year I've tried to go through and cover different shit, where it'd be a little bit of wrestling, other toy lines. Yeah, Motu is up, Kevin Castillo. Make sure you hit the love everywhere. Let them know E-Day's live and in living color tonight. Before we finish out Skelecember, which got all the little things to look at sitting up here, and then some, which, as we all know now, we're going to cover 2000X, the Classics Canon, and the 2012 comic books tonight. Like I said, to finish out Skelecember, look at some cool Skeletor figures we've been given. But before we do that, have noticed that we are starting to see the third wave of Super 7's 5.5-inch figures being released in comics, for me, in comic book stores. FYE did get for a birthday present and all that. The Shadow Weaver, which actually, really looks pretty damn cool. It's got the little base stand on it so you can make her look like she's floating in the air and all that. Do love the back artwork and everything. So, honestly, like I said, I haven't taken it out of the package yet to really take a good look at it yet. But it does seem like they're pretty on point about maybe fixing paint apps, because it looks that way on this one. And the cloth cape on the back, nice touch here for the Shadow Weaver. Like I said, pretty nice touch, in all honesty. I did have a chance to see that they did get, I did see the Buzz Off. I haven't gotten that one yet. I will in time, so that way I can review the third wave, and I'm still trying to track down all the second wave ones, so that way I can go through and equally cover them, much like I did the first series, the first wave of them. Saw the Evil Lyn. It was nice to see him do Evil Lyn in the Filmation form, without doubt, and made a figure of her that in the vintage style that didn't make her look like she had jaundice. That was always my big thing, never could stand the yellow Evil Lyn. And then the one that I may have been actually surprised with was the Stratos figure. I know whenever we saw early production photos of it, test shots, stuff like that, it seemed like the head was looking really big and bulky. However, seeing the figure and everything there on the store shelves, they managed to get that one right, which is surprising because they managed to get it right for the vintage style figures. They still couldn't fix the fucking neck peg on the Club Grayskull Filmation Classics version of fucking Modulock. Seeing the fucking photos of from Germany and stuff like that, from where they're starting to get those figures, fucking the neck thing looks fucking horrible. So, all right, I gotta switch chairs here because I'm just, once again, I'm not digging this being on a lower fucking platform situation. Not really digging it. There, that's better. But like I said, yeah, that Shadow Weaver, it does. It looks really good. I was honestly surprised where I saw these and it's noticing like there wasn't too many defects with it. So eventually this is going to get hung back here right there on that section of the wall. Along with the other carded figures. Eventually I might get me a second set that I can open up and display them with the other from the first series. But going on real quick about the Super 7's Club Grayskull figures. Like I said, Roboto looked a little bulky. The Prince Adam looked great. Shadow Weaver looked great. Most of the figures in that line look be all right. Like I said, until they're in my hands, where I can really critique them. I can't really say a whole lot. However, like I said, the damn Modulock, the neck peg just looked all really fucked up. I mean, it looked more fucked up than the test shots that we seen to start with. Whenever they announced them and they showed them at Comic-Con or New York Comic-Con, where in the hell they showed them at. So, I'm hearing great stuff about the William Stout collection. Once again, one of those sets that I really wish I'd went ahead and gotten, and I know I still have a chance to get them. However, right now it's wish I'd gotten them pre-ordered so I could have them, be able to critique them. But you never know what's going to show up for season 3. So, no, Kevin, actually, it has been 3 waves because the first wave, as we know, had He-Man, Skeletor, Hordak, and She-Ra. The second wave had the Orko, Teela, Merman, and Evil Seed, because I know the third one so far has been Buzz Off, Stratos, Evil Lyn, and Shadow Weaver. Also know the second wave had the Crystal Man-at-Arms and the Translucent Blue Teela. This third wave, from what I've seen so far, had the Transforming He-Man variant, which I saw that one too. Will eventually get my hands on it. However, I'm just not real. I think I said before, whenever they announced, the upcoming waves after they released the first wave, and I think it's a big mistake going ahead and putting out the variants. I think like the Gold He-Man was also part of the second, or the third wave, I think. Or maybe it was part of the second wave, and the Teela I seen was supposed to be part of the third wave. I'm not really sure on that one. I don't know. I really think it's way too early for them to be going through and trying to give us variants of figures when there were so many figures vintage style they could have done. and save the variants for later on. Of course, at this point now, we know that Mattel's got the thing that they promised, and then that's it. So, like I said, I ain't seen too many people say anything about these third waves yet. I actually haven't seen anybody post anything about getting their hands on them or anything. I've got rest of them are on hold right at the moment for me. So, like I said, anytime I'll get a hold of them, and we'll review them here on the show this coming season. I want to find the second wave before I go through and be showing, so I can review the second wave before I do the third. All right, so talked about that. No, there ain't been no more movie news, anything like that. By the way, Happy New Year's Eve, everybody. I figured it'd be fitting, we end in 2019 with the end of season 2, which means, yes, this week there will be the start of season 3. And I will talk more about that after finish up Skelecember. So everybody kind of might be watching a little bit later, because I will do another video talking about season 3 and the big tournament, so to speak, for the most well-designed figure and all that tournament that I'm going to talk about. Say brackets are done. Like I said, unless something happens between now and me kicking off this tournament, the brackets are done. I want to say there's enough for 16 figures in 16 divisions. Just about. There's some divisions that 2 figures got to buy, and the rest of them got like one. Other brackets had like 1 buy in each one. So, pretty stock tournament, but I will talk about that a little bit later on and everything. Got too many Skeletor things here. Now, just to be fair, some of these are kind of customed due to parts getting lost, or the way I got them, it had to be kind of finagled around. But anyways, that being said, let's finish Skelecember. Kevin, make sure you're throwing in notes here and there. Hopefully everybody got the notes. Hey, it's showtime. I did post it up on everything on Facebook saying, hey, guys, we're going live. I swear I get more notices about things when I decide to do a show than I do any other time during the day whenever I'm not working. All right, so kick off with, like I said, the 2000X NYP production series. This series kind of, when it started, kind of drew off the mini comic, The Search. They used that as the backstory for how everything came to be. Skeletor was originally trying to conquer over the council. Randor put a stop to him, pretty much melted his face, in which we would see later on that series. When all that happened, Evil Lyn took him to like the pool where Hordak spirit was, where he's stuck on Despondos, and him making a deal in order to become Skeletor and save his own life. And then him going through and let's see, managing going through and breaking down the Mystic Wall after him and the rest of the evil warriors were trapped behind the Mystic Wall by Man-at-Arms and Sorceress for years. Now on Prince Adam's 16th birthday goes through and they break down the Mystic Wall. And they go through and they, he's trying to find the council, finds out they're gone. Comes to realize eventually that the power that he was looking for and everything was actually setting within the walls of Grayskull. So went back to him trying to take over Grayskull again. The series also did kind of introduce King Hiss and the Snake Men, and him getting basically defeated by King Hiss eventually at some point. When Evil Lyn and Cobra Khan went and released Hiss. In that series, it seemed like as the later in the series, Skeletor became less of a factor. It was kind of a shame because they could have done a lot really with him being in there and stuff. But yeah, it's like another thing that was kind of talked about that the creators had intended to eventually bring up the fact that Kel was the half brother to Randor. However, it got stopped after 3 seasons. Really sucked because whenever I was an adult watching it, whenever it first came out, really disappointed it stopped. Now, after that was over, the NBC Creations comics came out and started filling some of the gaps for the backstory from the series, from the cartoons. When he was killed or he recruited many of his evil warriors before, launching his attack on the Hall of Wisdom. It traveled to Eternia's past to obtain the Havoc staff from the Faceless One, and also brought Evil Lyn forward in time. It was also implied that there was a romantic relationship between Skeletor and Evil Lyn later on. So he didn't raise Evil Lyn. They would meet later on. So I guess she came forward with him. Somehow they got separated, and then they turned around and met again. So like I said, there was a lot of things there with the MYP and the NBC Creations that really could have been done. And I honestly felt like if that show would have been allowed to go on, we could have seen a whole lot more there. So yeah, that's how that all plays out. So we have to wait 6 years before we got anything new, in which came around the time of the classics coming out from Mattel. So they go through and they write a big bio on him, establishing yet another origin for old Bonehead, with blended elements from other media and with some new concepts. This one, they say, he was the son of Miro, half brother of Randor, and supposedly the rightful heir to Eternia, despite him being half Gar, half Eternian, or half human heritage. Eventually, the brothers did complete a successful campaign during the Great Unrest, but Count Marzo, who was pretty vengeful, banished King Miro to Despondos, leaving Eternia without a king. Let's see. Citizens of Eternia apparently are very racist because they would refuse to accept a half Gar, half human king. So they when that's what made Randor the king. And then when Randor found Keldor standing over Randor's mom, pressing him in an accident, he banished his brother from Eternos. He wandered Eternia basically. I think I've covered all this during the Keldor part of this. He was after being mortally wounded. He's seen by Beastman Evelyn back to Hordax Temple. Created, with the demon Demo Man. Assumed control of Keldor's army because basically he is still Keldor. Kept seeking the throne of Eternia. Apparently, this obliteration, though, the transformation obliterated Keldor's love for Evelyn, which kind of pissed her off, but at the same time, she remained right by his side. He fought in the first, second battlegrounds, successfully acquired the throne for a time, framing He-Man for the murder of King Randor. During the second ultimate battleground, apparently Skeletor used a spell to drain Hordak's essence. So with Hordak's life fading away, he dealt a near fatal blow to Skeletor, forcing him to absorb the techno-organic virus from the Bionotops and transformed him into a cyborg infused with Hordak's power. He left planet, command the space mutants. Spent 5 years battling He-Man, She-Ra, and the Galactic Protectors until he's forced to join forces with Horde Prime. During this battle, He-Man and Skeletor both were transported by the key controller to Trala, where they fought what believed was their final battle at the Temple of Power. Calling on power, He-Man at last broke the spell that kept Skeletor alive, splitting him and Demo Man. At that point, that's when Keldor pretty much wished his nephew well. Later on, Mindless Skeletor is resurrected by the Cosmic Enforcers, and Despera. Let's see. He-Man is informed that Skeletor had killed Hordak, man she believed to be her father. She decapitated a zombified Skeletor. He'd return to Eternia again, and the named one used a spell to summon the greatest villains of all time by his side. Now, after Despair decapitated Skeletor's zombified body, was taken by the Skeletons who placed it in the temple. Obsessed Skeleton convinced the evil land Beastman to help him find Skeletor's remains. Eventually brought the corpse to the cave where Keldor's mother had died. They used the Havoc Staff and her enchanted blood to resurrect Skeletor. And basically, this unnatural act triggered a magical anomaly called the Reawakening, which brought many deceased heroes and villains back to life. Restored his original state, he feigned remorse, passed his deeds, and orchestrated the mystical rebirth of Castle Grayskull. Once again, attempted to seize Grayskull's magic, but was defeated by King He-Man. Being all sorrowful in his loss and everything, and still craving the power he once possessed, he willingly used profane magic to transform himself back into Bonehead. I like that backstory. I like that canon. I really do. Sounds really good, and I think it'd be a really great, set for a series if I could ever get it rolling. I know Netflix has announced a second CGI show to go along with the as well with the one that's going to be done by Kevin Smith. So maybe they can use that for the show. You're right, Kevin. It is a cool backstory without a doubt. Cool canon right there. Like I said, I think it'd be great, if they could use the classics canon to go through and for this new show they're going to use, since we already know the premise of the Kevin Smith Dunn show. I think it'd be really cool. Now, that being said, now we're going to get to where 2012 DC Comics got a hold of the licensing rights to make comics of the Master Universe. They start out with a one-off of, the origin of Skeletor, which pretty much shows, all right, he is the half-brother of Randor, and he's there whenever Adam first grasps, gets up, calls for the power of Grayskull. Now, somehow he went through and managed to eventually win, and where he went through and manipulated reality and established himself as really returning by wiping all the heroes' memories. So start out with, we get a 6-issue series of Prince Adam going through and finding his, he's having these visions of him actually being He-Man at some point, and him going through and finding other masters and dealing with other evil villains in order to get back to the power sword. And when he gets hold of that, he basically breaks the spell done by Skeletor. Does do away with, does eventually beat Skeletor. Just knocks Skeletor to escape and became a minion for a possessed Orko, who was also kind of instrumental in how Skeletor managed to do everything. Was later found on Earth trying to siphon the untapped energies of Earth. However, he was cast away by Constantine, but because he obtained the Eye of Chaos, he's able to travel through parallel dimensions, witness several versions of himself battling He-Man. He realized he'd never defeat He-Man, sought to change his ways. Dick convinced Shear to heal him. And he teamed up with her to travel to Spondos to search for a way to defeat Hordak. Later restored Hordak's powers through a painful blood transfusion. Now he's called Master of Death, 12 feet tall, equipped with new long terror claws and everything. Still, they managed to find an everlasting pool of his mother's blood, and he's reincarnated into something evil and could only describe as glorious. So, it was a cool set of stories, without a doubt. Of course, mainly it's focused on, the Horde, that line, the Horde showing up, taking over Eternia comics, and we'll look through those and everything. Look at the pros and cons of the whole storyline. So, but all right, so that right there ends all the canon and backstories we've gotten for old Bonehead over the last, let's see, I guess since it's almost 2020, we might as well say the last 37 years. Honestly, he's had a lot of different backstories, a lot of fucked up ones, a lot of cool ones. Honestly, I think the classics canon got it all right by going through and merging them all together and adding some new stuff to it. So it's, like I said, really cool to see how actually he's kind of progressed as the years went on. So that was, like I said, pretty awesome stuff together here. Put the Bible up for now. I guess this means now I could technically go through and do a Shadow Weaver review. Right. Still missing something before I do that one. right, so we'll back to Filmation first. The Filmation toys, in which both my Filmation Skeletors have both got mixed match parts and stuff. More I've been trying to build my own. I've got most of body one. I'm just honestly missing like the damn chest armor they had. And I've got like two different heads for it. One looks more like it. This one came in and everything. Just put the head on him. It's really too bad. However, when you go to realize this one had a designed head put on him that looked actually a little bit better than the one we got from Mattel. But you know, you had the lighter boots. You actually had the gloved hands and everything, which the way he's supposed to look. Honestly, I think they did a pretty good job with it. Either way, trying to make him look like the Filmation version. Like I said, I like the darker little tinted skull right there. A little bit better of a paint job on it, really. Eventually, I'll find the chest armor for it and be all good to go. And eventually find me a Havoc staff that goes with him. We'll get rid of that. A Ultimate Skeletor, which honestly, I mean, they hit it right spot on for everything with the cape, the look, you know, and the different heads. Alcala head on this one. From what I've seen of the regular classic Skeletor, this one actually does look a lot better. Like I said, despite the fact it came from Super 7, they actually did a decent job with this one. And like I said, they gave it a plethora of heads, you know, along with that one. You know, you had one that's supposed to look more like the classics one, and then they gave you a Keldor head. I've added to it over time. Do it unless you added the toothless head from the 2-pack with Skeletor and Molar. And then a friend of mine that don't live too far away, he went through and he made a head that looked like from one of the covers from the Eternian Wars DC Comics line. Occasionally I've got that head actually on there. And then, like I said, like they gave you a Havoc staff, which I've misplaced somewhere around here. The power swords, to say the least. And then they gave you, of course, Keldor's dual-bladed sword. That, of course, you know, naturally comes apart and everything. What we were expecting, but still pretty good. Now, not yet. Now, of course, you know, we got like the Terraclaw Skeletor. Let's see, the Battle Armor Skeletor. And probably one of the all-time favorites, without doubt, is always the Dragon Blaster Skeletor with the dragon, which, you know, pretty cool setup. Because, I mean, hell, you can still go through and you can take the dragon all the way off. Or you look like he's just kind of sitting there. And, of course, you know, the power sword, without doubt. I think they could have done a little bit different with the face sculpt, face paint, and everything. The nice thing is on these boots, this is like the boot setup, like what Super 7 would use later on. With the, this is the way it should have looked. You know, the regular Skeletor should have looked. Now, then there was the Laser Light Skeletor, and this one I got a hold of, and somebody had taken the head off, and it had kind of ruined it. I don't have the batteries in place for this, and I had to go through and make a makeshift head for this, which honestly I'm working on like a second one that looks more like the Filmation head. But supposedly you're supposed to be able to hit the button on the back here, and his hand and his eyes will light up. I've got it all set to where it will actually do that once I get batteries put in place. The laser light figures, I was never a fan of growing up. I didn't care for the way either one of them looked. This one actually looks pretty good. You can tell where they was going through in there. You know, reuse some parts from the intergalactic Skeletor that, Kevin, you will have to refresh my memory about on whether I actually looked at that classics figure last episode or not. I also don't like the fact that, you know, they made the boots all like one piece with the bottom part of the legs on it, and then the chest piece is like all stuck in place. It's like all molded together as far as the body goes. You know, you can't really take it off to where if you wanted to do something different with this, you know, put it on a different Skeletor body, whatever, you can't really do that. I mean, I understand. It was like they could have put some kind of little plug-in thing where it's like there's got to be ends connecting, but it's all the electronic parts are all inside the body. I understand that. Why somebody also take the head off, I don't know. But it is what it is. And because I wanted to go a little bit of a different route with things, and everybody knows about me and my customs lab. And for you that don't, you can check out various places there on Facebook. That's anything Masters related, or even Wily Cat's Corner. I went through and did a version of Skeletor, like basically like after like he'd been split and killed. Horde Prime gets hold of him and basically turns him into a wraith. So therefore we get the Skelecember. He's not fully completed yet because I'm still got to change the hands out, I think, a little bit. But honestly, I mean, I like the way it looked and everything. You give him the staff and all that, and he does a pretty nice looking figure without a doubt. I still have an issue getting these things to hold into their hands. But yeah, it's like you don't see too many others going through and willing to go through and try something a little bit different with whole Skeletor. I said there's a ton of backstories we could go to. A bunch of different figures you could go with all the different cannons and crap. Oh, really? I'm gonna try to call me this late at night. All right. So that's it for Skelecember, and that's it for season 2. It's been a long year. Ugh. But like I said, we're going to be kicking off season 3 here for too long. Have a lot of fun with it and stuff like that. Like I said, review a lot more different things. Because I managed to acquire a lot of different stuff throughout the year. And wanted to really do a lot more this past year, but really wasn't able to. So, you know, hopefully, you know, this coming year I'll be able to. So for everybody that's watched and everything through the year, I do appreciate it and everything. It does make this show worth doing. I get a chance to do them. So, but anyways, that said, that's it for season 2. That's it for 2019. Keep watching a little bit later on tonight, you know, before the clock hits 12 in my time zone. And I'll be talking about the impending season 3, which, Kevin, whenever that happens, I'll make sure to hit you up, let you know I'm getting ready to do it, and I'll let you do the trying to share the video to everybody so everybody can watch it, whatever. Because whenever I do this here in a little bit, I'm going to be talking about the big tournament and how and bracketology and all that crap. Since episode 1 will be based um, the first division in the tournament. Like I said, 16 divisions, 14 to 15 characters in each division. Like I said, unless something happens between now and when I announce each division. Of course, once I announce the division, that's it. That's the brackets are locked in place. But more on that a little bit later on. So, with that being said, like I said, big shout out and thank you to everybody that does watch this. Kevin, I know you are one that watches loyally every week or every time I do a new episode, and I appreciate it, brother. And everybody else that watches, and I know there's people that go through and they watch, and then so thank you very much. Honestly, there's been times where I've kind of wondered if this was worth doing, but y'all made it worth actually doing. So that being said, I'm me, Daddy, your angry guy. I'll see you next year. Peace. Where's my mouse? I'm out. Maybe. Yes, end.